Hello friends, today we are gonna talk about Kubernetes workload management. There is a different type of workload we can deploy on top of Kubernetes. Example, deployments, replica set and stateful set, daemon set and cron jobs. These are all the different type of deployment we can deploy on top of the Kubernetes cluster. Today mainly we are talking about only deployments, how that is looks and how we are going to deploy, what are the different configuration we can set up in the deployment while deploying any application. Yeah, basically when we are deploying any stateless application, means you are not gonna store any database related part like a stateful application, like a MySQL or Redis pod or something. We are gonna deploy the stateless application. For that, we are gonna use application as a deployment for any front end and back end services which will process and it will complete the task, those kind of application. Kubernetes deployment is a high-level abstraction of managing applications in Kubernetes. It provides a declarative update to application and ensure that the desired state of the application maintained over time. For example, what will happen when you create anything as a pod? If something nodes go down and pod will automatically terminated. It won't be recreate automatically. If you create as a deployment or application, that in turn it will create a pod, but if something happened to the pod due to some issue in the pod, resource utilization, resource crunch or something, the pod will get killed and automatically the new pod will be created, uh, based on the deployment configurations. That is the beauty of the deployment. The self-healing capacity have the deployments. Okay, and main key feature why we are using the deployments, it's a declarative update. We have to use the JSON or YAML file to define our deployment configuration. Once we define the deployment configuration, we have to create the deployment. So that will in turn it will create the required replica set and pod. Basically, the replica set will manage how many replica of pods should be running, and in the overall deployment configuration, these are all the configuration will be added in the YAML file. And as I already mentioned, the self healing is the main benefit of using the deployment. If the pod crashes or become unresponsive, Kubernetes will replace the pod automatically. And scaling, the main feature is scaling. As you already aware, the scaling is very important in the cloud, because that will that will save most of the cost, and whenever the traffic comes in, it automatically scale up and it will serve the traffic. That's why this deployment will help to save the cost and serve the application without having any disruption in the application. And rolling update and rollback, for example, if you are doing any changes in the application, releasing any new versions, uh, you are facing some issues in the new version which you are deployed, you can automatically roll back to the previous version using the deployment, because it will keep track of the versioning you are updating of the deployment. Once you deploy any deployment, you have updated some configuration of new image or something, you feel it is not working or some issues, then easily you can roll back to the previous state. These are all the main deployment features and benefits actually. um, and also show one more image is, uh, yeah, consider this as a deployment and deployment and replica set, and inside the replica set there will be a number of pods, and inside the pod there will be a number of containers. This the way the deployment hierarchy is added. And Yeah, this is the sample YAML file which will look like the deployment. Here the name of the deployment and labels we can add. This will help in features to export this application outside or within a Kubernetes cluster. We can create a service and select this deployment based on this label configuration. And this specification section is the actual configuration we are defining. Here we are defining how many replica means how many pods we require, and this the label selector, it will actually create the pods. And strategy, we have a different strategy to deploy the application. Maybe in going forward I'll cover one more uh, video dedicated to this strategy. There will be a blue green deployment, rolling deployment, and recreate. Those strategy I'll show the demo and I'll explain how it will work in going forward. And this the template section, what you're seeing, this the actual pod and container configurations. Here if you see the container nginx image is using, and this the version. Okay, let's go and do the demonstration how it will work. Okay, I'm using the minikube cluster in my local. I'll switch back to deployment. This repo link I have already shared. I'll be sharing in the description. You can play around it. For example, just to show you, I'll be creating a pod first. kubectl get pod. I think one pod is running. I have created as a pod this one. Let me go and delete this pod. Delete pod icon nginx. So once the pod is deleted with some reason or manually, some with some um, mistakenly you have deleted, it won't be recreated. You have to create manually again. If you check this kubectl get pod, there's no pod now. That's the reason application will be any application we are going to apply, we have to use a particular deployment strategy, either deployment or stateful set or replica set. Okay, now uh, just as I already shown, I have the YAML file ready with me. This we are creating as a deployment and name is a deployment nginx, and namespace I'm using the default namespace, and the label I'm adding here as I already explained. But here I'm using my own personal application which I built, and in my this is available in my Docker public repository. You can also use that. And to deploy this, we'll use kubectl apply -f, and what's the file name, deploy.nginx. Okay, now this deployment is done. kubectl get deployment. There's a one deployment, 0 of 3 is ready. Let's wait. Still waiting. Just check the pods, how many pods are running. Image pull back off, maybe due to some image issue this is failing. Let me go and update the image name, actually deployment nginx. I'll update this to nginx instead of my personal. Maybe I have not pushed this image. nginx and the port will be 80, and the resource default element. I'll just use the same command. This time it will be configured. First time it says created, this time it will be updated to the newer version. If you see this command kubectl rollout history, deployment slash deploy and Nginx. There are two versions available now. Actually, the previous version was failing. Now I updated with a newer image, and the revision is created as two. Let's go and see if this newer one is working. Yeah, now all three ports are running. Just check the port. Okay, all three ports are running. Now, if you see the age of the pod, all the three pods age is 53 seconds. Now, what I'll do, I'll go and delete one pod in that. So it should automatically create a new pod. Since the deployment keep the desired state of the current deployment, that will be a job responsibility of control manager in the control control node that will be keep tracking the current state of the pod and deployment, and if anything got broken or deleted, it will recreate again. ctl delete pod. The pod is deleted. If I check the pod trace again, the new pod is created 4 seconds back. Means this self healing is working perfectly. Yeah, thank you. And still so many things to cover on the deployments. Basically, we have to cover the rolling update, how we are gonna manage the resource on the deployment, how we are gonna manage the secrets and config to any application. Upcoming video, I'm gonna cover each section with the demo. Please try to set up your lab environment and try to execute the manifest file which I shared. If any issue with the deployment manifest file, or if you feel add some more examples, feel free to uh, fork the repo and create a PR, so we can work on it and improve this repository. This just for learning purpose I made this repo, so I'll also get more understanding on this concept. Thank you.